on our new funding program, Artsweek SHIFT². And I'm going to be helped in this effort by our program coordinator, Gabe Pollock, who you can see up in the left of the gallery.
Here I am.
Everything. Before we go any farther, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that we are all here on the traditional lands of the Treaty 20 Mississauga territories and in the lands and territories of the Mississauga and Chippewa nations, and ask people to remember that these lands have been in their care for millennia, that we're very grateful to be here, and that we will do our best to continue to support their efforts as stewards and custodians of this land. Thanks all very much. So tonight we have a PowerPoint presentation for you, and we'll try to give you some background on this program, as well as very specific details on each of the components of the program. You can ask questions in the chat room. Just sometimes I'll try and answer them right away, but we'll get to all the questions at some point during our event tonight, and you'll also have further chance to ask questions in the Q&A at the end, and you can always email or call us for information or support or advice on your application to this program. Gabe, did you have any technical things you wanted to ask or tell people about?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I believe almost everyone's on mute. If you could stay on mute during the presentation, that would be great. As we say, if you can ask questions in chat, that just helps things go a bit easier. You can also, I'll be monitoring the email during this workshop. So if you don't want to put in chat, you can also email. It's info@artsweek@gmail.com. Info@artsweek, all one word, @gmail.com. Also, you may have noticed I am recording this meeting. We'll be releasing, we also recorded the 5:30 as well. And we'll be releasing a recording of both meetings onto YouTube, probably early next week, just so in case there's anything that you missed, that you can go and replay it. What else? Those are all the things, I think. So let's get going with the presentation.
Here we go.
And we did that.
So we're going to start out, for those of you who aren't familiar with Artsweek, with a little bit of background about what this whole Artsweek thing is about. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So Artsweek is, it's actually a project that comes out of the city's 100th anniversary of the incorporation of the city of Peterborough. So I think that was 2011. Is that right? No, maybe sooner, 2001 maybe. The city put quite a bit of money into various activities during that year, and they wanted a legacy project. So the arts community got together and proposed that the legacy project could be funding in perpetuity for a big arts festival. And Artsweek took place the first time the year of the centennial celebrations. It's in its 15th year now, I think. Typically now it's a biennial festival. It happens every other year. It should have taken place in the fall, in September of 2020. We couldn't go forward because of COVID-19, so it's been postponed, the big festival, until the fall of 2021. It's always been a multidisciplinary festival. It takes place all over the city. And in 2018, it included over 100 artists who produced 30 projects and 60 different events. It's quite an extravaganza. We were able to convince our funders to let us use a 2019 component of our funding to do something right away, because we wanted to get money out to artists as fast as possible. So that's what Artsweek SHIFT² is all about. This won't affect the funding available for the festival in the fall of 2021. You can expect to hear from us about the fall festival sometime in May, probably. But right now, we want to look at the two components of Artsweek SHIFT² and what that funding will provide. Artsweek SHIFT1 were two curated programs that happened in the late fall and early winter of 2020. One was called Downtown, curated by the poet Justin Million. And that was just a great project. We had spoken word and on-page poets speaking in different locations all over the city, sometimes in people's backyards, sometimes in the big parking lot behind the theater on King. And it also had a visual arts component that was a painting project by John Kleimenhaeg, who'd been painting en plein air throughout the pandemic, and those paintings were then put in storefront windows, and we did didactic panels for all of them so people could learn a little bit more about his work. And then a brilliant, I think, brilliant project by curated by Hannah Keating called Peterborough Postcode Tour. So this was an Instagram project where we asked 3 artists who live with disabilities to imagine Peterborough in a site-specific way from the point of view of artists with disabilities, and to imagine a future Peterborough where there would not be as many challenges and barriers to them moving around the city. There was a writer, Derek Newman-Style, Bethany LeBlanc is a painter, and Sue Lilly is a performance and installation artist. And they did brilliant work, and it is still available on Instagram at Peterborough Postcode Tour. So those projects wrapped up, and then we took a little bit of time to organize Artsweek SHIFT². That's the second phase of this initiative. It has 2 components. And we'll talk about component 1 first, because we're very linear thinkers. This is a new initiative for EC3, these mini grants to professional artists. And we're really excited about this because it harkens back to an older age of how public funding for the arts used to work. And the purpose of this grant is to provide $1,500 for local artists to pursue any kinds of activities, to take on any work plan that they have in mind, or educational initiative they want to take up that they think would advance their practice, that they think would enhance or encourage their own work. And it can be a new project, it can be a work in progress. We'll talk a little bit more about everything that's eligible, but it's really devoted to helping an individual artist advance their practice. And while the project you decide to undertake or the work plan you decide to undertake when you make your application might have a completed work and a formal presentation, it's not a requirement of the program. Component 1, mini grants to professional artists, $1,000. No, 1,500, sorry. Component 2 is a much bigger and broader program, and is kind of what we're calling a pocket festival. So it's like Arts Week, but a slightly smaller version. This part of the program provides $3,000, and it can be an individual artist that applies, an arts organization, an ad hoc collective. You don't have to be an incorporated not-for-profit to apply. But the idea is that you have a proposal in mind for a larger scale project. It can be in any discipline, it can be multidisciplinary, it can take place virtually or live in Peterborough, and hopefully before May 31st, 2021. If your project is going to have to trail over a little bit into June for some reason, that's okay, but we're hoping to wrap everything up by the end of May. Keep in mind that whatever you do will have to respect COVID-19 health and safety regulations, and we'll help you with that. Any questions so far? I'm going to go on to some more details about component 1. That's the mini grants to professional artists. So it's a grant of $1,500. This can be for an artist in any stage of their career. You can be an emerging artist, a mid-career artist, or a very senior artist, and you can be working in any discipline or define yourself as a multidisciplinary artist. We're really looking to support artists in their creative development, helping people sustain their practice, especially right now when opportunities have become so limited, and provide a little boost to people who want to adapt or develop new skills around technology and digital opportunities, but it doesn't have to be limited to that. Thanks, Gabe. So here are the kinds of things that you could propose to do in component 1 to receive a grant of $1,500. You might want to advance your professional practice and your body of work, do some research, workshop a project, work with an editor, just have some time to devote yourself to your work, buy some materials that might be helpful. You might be making a transition in your practice for many reasons, including in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. It would allow you to undertake professional development opportunities. If there was an online course that you wanted to take or a learning activity that you thought would advance your career, you could apply for the money to do this under this program. And again, while the projects might culminate in a public presentation of work, it's not a requirement of the program. So here we tried to dig down a little bit deeper and anticipate questions and answer them about what applicants could apply to do. It can be research and develop a new work, complete or adapt an existing work, or a body of work. You could establish new approaches to your work. You might want to argue that you just want to try something new and different, and here's what it is, and here's why you want to do it. Really like those projects to be undertaken in the immediate future, ideally in the next 3 months. So when you're making your application, think about the fact that it's going to go in front of a jury and you're going to try and convince them that with this $1,500, you're going to buy time or materials, take a course, get editorial support, workshop things, many, many possibilities within the next 3 months to advance your practice. So research and development, time to advance or complete work, workshopping, editorial support, and materials. And we've highlighted materials in pink there because typically Artsweek has funded only ephemeral materials that were part of a particular project and had a shelf life and would disappear at the end of the project. But with COVID-19 in mind and the fact that the capital expenses for lots of technological tools has really gone down in price, we will admit you to the program if you do have capital expenses, but it will be up to the jury whether or not they approve them. So a jury is more likely to do things that they think are really central to you advancing your work, have long-term impact, or might support other artists. Again, assistance is available. That $1,500 could cover tuition for a particular program, online program you want to take, or working with an elder, or working with a mentor or a master class person that you've always wanted to have some time to work with. All activities must comply with COVID-19 health and safety guidelines. And if your proposal includes working with other artists, artist fees have to be paid. So if you have a project, but you think it's going to cost more than $1,500 and you have some ideas of other funders who might help, if you've been awarded a grant, we will write you a letter of support and we'll help you make an application for that additional funding. Thanks, Gabe. So there are some pretty clinical eligibility criteria, and that's the first piece of the process is you have to be eligible for the program, but it's pretty simple. You have to be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. You have to be resident in the city or county of Peterborough. That was not in the initial application. We're going to correct that, but there are people who live in the county are eligible. And my cat's come to learn something about this. And you have to be a professional artist, age 18 or over. And Gabe, if you can skip on down to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about professional artists. This is the definition EC uses to explain what a professional artist is in our eyes. It's the same one the Ontario Arts Council uses, and it's one that's been developed through consultation with the arts community over quite a long period of time. I think the key thing here is that the program is not open to students or to people whose work in the arts is primarily as a hobby or as a recreational endeavor. but you don't have to have an art school degree. You don't have to have had an exhibition in a public art gallery. You just have to meet the criteria laid out here. Thanks, Gabe. So once your application is filled out and handed in, what happens? EC3 will have appointed a peer assessment committee. So that means people who are working in the practice. It will primarily be other artists. There may be some curators, but they will be, everybody who's making the decisions will be arts professionals, and will work really hard to get a diverse and well-balanced jury so that all proposals can get a fair hearing, and that people who are making applications can feel that everybody had an opportunity. Crystal, I'll come back to you in just a second. Where'd they go? So once we have all the applications in, we'll provide those to the jury members. They'll take a look at them, they'll review them, they'll give them scores and start to work out a priority, each juror for themselves. And then we'll bring the jury together through Zoom, and we will go through each and every application, and we'll get a final score on every application according to the criteria that's laid out here. Quality and clarity of the artist's statement, the artistic merit of the project, and the value for the artist's practice. So the jury will be looking at the previous body of work, because you're going to submit samples of your previous work, audio tapes, visual images, writing samples. How does the jury assess the artistic merit of your previous body of work, and how do they assess your proposal? Have you persuaded the jury that what you want to do is really going to advance or enhance your practice? And then the budget project feasibility. If you want to apply for $1,500, and that includes bringing 7 other writers in to edit your work or participate in a reading, that's probably not feasible because you have to pay artist fees. You can definitely apply for money to pay yourself. The word typically we use for that is subsistence, a subsistence payment. You're paying yourself an honorarium, you're buying yourself some time to concentrate on your arts practice, and that is an eligible expense. Okay, Crystal Jones, I'm going to answer your question. If I'm currently enrolled in Fleming for social work, am I eligible? If you have a body of work as a professional artist and you're not studying art, yes, you are eligible. And if you want to call and double check on the details, I'm happy to talk to you about that. But we understand that people take up other educational opportunities in their lives. Component 2. So this is the Pocket Festival that we talked about earlier on. This is our attempt to create some kind of a festival, even though we're all burdened by the COVID-19 restrictions. These are grants of up to $3,000. It's an open call for projects in absolutely any discipline, can take place anywhere in the city, or it can be online. It can be a broadcast project. We'll talk a little bit more about that lately, but anywhere or any way in which the COVID-19 health and safety regulations can be maintained is eligible. And here we've given you an example of some live and in-person activities that have happened during COVID-19, or where we can tell that they would be safe COVID-19 projects. So you can see the parking lot behind the theater on King, where we had poetry readings. You can see a mobile concert band where people could meet outside, and you can create little squares so that people are all 6 feet apart. The photography project that Julie Gagne did for EC3 was available online and through Kawartha now. Lots of opportunities, lots of creative outlets that you can take up for in-person live activities. I saw a great project online the other day that was by a sculptor who created incredible sculptures out of snowballs in a conservation area, and there was a cleared path, and people could just go at their leisure and see those installations. It was great. Here are some more of the ways that you can do projects even during COVID-19. Broadcast or narrowcast, you can create projects for Trent Radio, you can create podcasts, you can do things on social media, live streaming, build or change websites that you have. And as we said, Postcode Tour was an entirely Instagram project. So just keep in mind that that's a really open door in terms of what kinds of projects in any discipline you can imagine. Any format in which you work is eligible, whether you're a musician, as audio artist, whether you do projections, make films, dance, multidisciplinary performance, visual arts, photography, all of these things are eligible. Any kind of writing project is eligible, but it must have a public performance component to it. This program is open to individual artists, again, anywhere from emerging, mid-career, or established to collectives, ad hoc groups, really established arts organizations in the city or county of Peterborough. Any of those organizations or ad hoc groups or collectives can propose projects, as can individual artists. It can be the work of one artist or several artists. And we also really encourage partnerships and collaborations with other community organizations. Some of the best Arts Week projects ever were collaborations between artists or arts organizations and community-based groups. Projects can take place anywhere in the city. Over the years, we've done projects at the zoo, in Jackson Park, on the London Street Bridge, in Millennium Park, at the water's edge in Dalcrary Park. So anything is possible. Again, we have to work to make sure we respect and are able to uphold COVID-19 health and safety guidelines, but we're hoping to really transform the city space, both in real time and virtually. EC3, our insurance will cover projects, and we will take care of any, yes, Briar, you're right on top of me here. I was just about to say, yes, we will assist you with permits, city permits. In fact, we'll do it for you. So we have to get insurance certificates. People have asked us, does it have to, you know, how long can it be? Because they're used to they're used to the 10-day framework. That doesn't apply here. It can be pop-ups. It can be one time only. Whoops. Can you go back, hon? Thanks. Whoops. Go backwards. There we go. Pop-ups, one-time project, short runs, or you can go continuously for 3 months. Projects, we'd really like them to be completed no later than May 31st. If they have to go into June, that's possible. I just need to be honest, we have so much else on our plates that we're really worried that we couldn't support your project properly after May 31st, because by that time we'll be getting ready to do Arts Week 2021 and a whole bunch of other things. But in this part of the program, a final report and budget will be required. I think it's really important to point out that EC3 and Arts Week are very committed to principles of inclusion, racial equity, cultural diversity, and accessibility. So keep that in mind when you're doing your projects, and that will be a priority. Thank you. So again, the total value of an Arts Week Shift Component 2 grant is $3,000. If you want to seek out other sources of funding, we're happy to help you. Once your project is approved, we're happy to write a letter of support, help you with your application. Keep in mind, all Arts Week Shift2 projects have to have a public presentation component. It has to be free to the public. Typically, during Arts Week, EC3 staff or volunteers collect donations, and that money goes to offset the costs of the festival. But for Arts Week Shift2, artists or arts organizations can collect their own donations and keep the money. So again, a peer assessment committee will come together. The same assessment committee will adjudicate both the grants to individual artists, the $1,500 mini grants, and the project presentation grants, the $3,000 grants. They will review all the projects, they'll review the support material, they'll have discussions, they'll rank the projects, and then they'll make recommendations to EC3 and Artsweek SHIFT about how much money each application should get, and obviously what are the successful and unsuccessful applications. Both the programs are competitive programs. So keep in mind that you've got to sell your project proposal to the members of the jury. The criteria that will be used in assessing the component 2 projects are, again, artistic merit of the project, the clarity of the artist's work plan, your statement, your project description. It's really, really important that you tell the story to the jury of what you're going to do. Don't obfuscate, don't leave out important facts. Really make it clear what you want to do. There are a number of things that will come into play in the jury's final decisions: the available fund, the potential impact of the project, and how it fits with the festival's overall mandate, which is to celebrate the talent here in Peterborough and to make art more accessible to the public. And we just want to emphasize again that accessibility and inclusion are really key to our programming. If there are artists who are deaf or hard of hearing or living with disabilities, we have a number of organizations that we work with and that we can provide particular support for you, both in terms of your application and for the public presentation of your project. Just want to say, please don't hesitate to get in touch with us by email or by phone if you have any questions or you need any kind of assistance. That's the fun part of our job, is working directly with artists to help them ensure that they have the best possible application they can have going in front of the jury. Don't be shy, ask questions. We're here to help. So here's the key information. All of these slides will be posted on our website, but it's artsweekpeterborough.ca/artsweek-shift. That's where you go on the Artsweek website. If you go to the EC3 website, you'll see an Artsweek Shift button, and you can push it and click it, and it will take you through to this website. You'll find the call for proposal, the guidelines, and the actual application form, which is a fillable PDF. And you can download that PDF, complete the application form, provide the supplementary documents. So that's the support material the jury will look at. And then you email that to info@artsweek@gmail.com. And again, if you have problems, don't be shy. Call us, email us. So support material takes a lot of time. You don't necessarily have things all the time in the format that we need them. So I'm going to ask Gabe to jump in here and talk a little bit about the format of the support material and what you need to keep in mind when preparing it.
Yeah, for sure. We've kind of listed here the standard formats for images: JPEG, PNGs, or GIFs. Literary files send as doc files or docx files. But really, we're going to kind of leave it as open as possible so that we can get the information. We're suggesting with audio and video, because those are larger files. Often you can't attach those. So if you can send us a link to where they are, like if you upload it to YouTube, or if it's a Vimeo thing, or even or a Bandcamp for music, or certainly if you can just upload it to a drive and send us the link. This can be, this can be a bit of a technological challenge. So if you're confused about any of it, or you're having issues, or you just want to double check that we got it correctly, just send us an email and we'll make sure. And then on the application form, there is a spot to list the examples that you're sending along and to provide the links. So make sure that that information is clear and we can figure out what you're intending to show us.
Okay, I'm going to let that slide stay up a bit, but don't forget, it'll all be available for you on our website.
And this
Okay.
list also is in the PDF.
It's embedded right in there, isn't it?
Yeah, so it includes that list in there as well, so you can see it there.
And we have a checklist as well.
We do.
Okay, Gabe, I think we're ready to go. Slide 29. Thank you. Speaking of checklists, here are the checklists for both component 1 and component 2. So if I can give you a little bit of advice here, start with the checklist, because supplementary material can take a really long time because you might not have everything, as I said, in exactly the format that we need it. So get the application, take a look at the checklists of what you need to do to have an eligible application, look at those first, and make sure that you're on the road to providing all the support material that you're going to need. And then you can see there'll be a tick off list of all the things you actually have to include in your application. Pay attention to the checklist. We can't accept incomplete applications. Okay, I think we're good, Gabe. So here's the basic schedule in terms of applying for the project. John, I'll get back to you in just a sec. The really important one is February 22nd. It's an absolute deadline. The rest, if for any reason we don't have the results out by March the 8th, we've have had that problem in the past. One time we had 2 jurors get really extremely ill right before the jury and we had to postpone it. We will contact you and tell you that the results are going to be delayed. Again, we're hoping all the projects will be complete by May 31st, but there's a little bit of flexibility there. And June 30th, final reports are due. I should mention that we probably hold back about 10% on the grant, and you don't get the final payment until the final report is in. In the chat room, John Hedderwick has asked, if multiple artists are applying together, is it 3 pages CV or 3 pages of CV in total? Great question. We'd want up to 3 pages from each of the artists. So that would allow you 3 times 3 is 9 pages. Is that okay? All right, let's go on to slide 31. So these are some overall tips and tricks that we've developed for use in all our grant writing workshops. We've given a number of them, and these are tips that come some from funders, but a lot from artists who have been successful in grant applications. And these fantastic photograph from Sue Lily Dixon as part of Postcode Tour. Gabe's put all of this together for us in such a beautiful way. Check the deadline. Start early. Start earlier. Start right now. Before you go to bed, look at that application form. Get rolling. Thanks, Gabe. And these beautiful illustrations by Bethany LeBlanc, also from Postcode Tour and available on Instagram. Think of the application form a little bit like the way you used to be taught to look at an exam. Read the entire guidelines and the application form first before you do anything. And in Kate Story's words, even though it's wordy and boring, make yourself do it. Here's Wendy Trussler's beautiful piece, Heliotrope, which she created sitting outside the Silver Bean every day during Artsweek 2016. Pay attention to the actual questions being asked, and when you answer, be specific. Don't digress. Fantastic dance piece by Kate Story and Ryan Kerr. That was in Peterborough Square during Arts Week 2018. I think this is Jen Cole and Bennett Badukian. So this is a really important one, especially for first-time applicants. It's way easier and saves a lot of time if you look at the questions and write your answers out separately in a Word document. So prepare the answers to all the questions in a Word document first. Be prepared to write a number of drafts. Think about it like a little essay that you're writing, and get it all set and ready to go and perfect it, and then drop it into the right part of the PDF. And this is part of the Takeout Poetry Cart, which has appeared at many Arts Week events and at many Gay Pride, Arts Love Pride events. Pay attention to the evil word count in your drafts. We won't accept applications where there are extensions of the recommended word counts. We didn't put word counts on component 1. We wanted to leave artists room to say as much or as little as they wanted, but in component 2, you do have to be a bit more concise. We highly recommend saving that PDF and printing it off just in case. Be clear and concise. Sometimes people think they have to talk art speak in a grant application, but you really don't. In fact, I'd recommend, and I've been doing this for 40 years now, and I've been involved in over 100 juries. That can sometimes really annoy juries. Just speak straightforward, be yourself, say what you want to do, how you want to do it, why you want to do it. Really avoid jargon and art speak. And there's Sean doing a great reading behind the theater on King as part of downtown. Whoops, we missed Muriel Mountain there. There's Muriel playing with Washboard Hank as part of Porchapalooza one year, which is that, I don't know if you folks have seen it, but it's a great kind of musical tour where Muriel and Hank commission acts from different musicians, and they play on verandas in different parts of either East City or Gilmore Street. There's been different locations every year, and people can go and watch. Absolutely. Get someone to proofread your grant application. Don't be embarrassed. Everybody makes mistakes, and especially if you've been working on it for a while, you won't see things anymore that are mistakes. And it can tire the jury out and stress the jury out if there are a lot of spelling mistakes or sentences that are in the wrong place. So ask somebody else to proofread for you and double check the checklist. This is a beautiful sculpture that Let Architects did over Jackson Creek when they were in their old offices. Try not to be afraid of the budget. A lot of people are intimidated by a budget. Take your time, look at the categories, work it through on paper outside of the application form, be precise, and show your work. So what we mean by that is, if your project's going to involve 4 other artists and you want to pay them $200 each, show that it's 4 artists at $200. Make sure that the jury is going to be able to look at the budget and really clearly understand how you're going to spend your money. Thanks, Gabe. Be honest, be forthright. Nobody knows better or can sniff out better than another artist, whether you're not being honest or whether you're padding your budget or see the gaps and holes in what you're putting together. Don't make claims that you can't promise to meet. It's better to do quality, not quantity. And don't underestimate the time and resources that you might need to pull your project off. Document your need. If you're going to need a certain amount of materials or a certain amount of props, lay that all out. Explain what it is to the jury. Don't just put a number in with no explanation. It is a competitive process, and they're going to lean towards projects where they really, really understand what's going to happen and how the money is going to be used. Thanks, Gabe. Oh, and here's the fantastic Opal and Circus Arts folks with the flying canoe. They're actually suspended from the ceiling in the canoe museum. Leave yourself enough time to check for completeness and consistency. Does your budget balance? Does it relate to all the things that you laid out in the application? Does it match the narrative? Have you used the checklist and ticked it off and make sure you have everything there? Is the information accurate and up to date? So make sure if you're putting costs down that you have a recent quote, or you know you're comfortable that you're in a good ballpark, an up-to-date ballpark for what you're suggesting as an expense. There's John Kleimanhag looking at some of his paintings in the windows for part of downtown. So you are going to be asked to explain how you're going to comply with COVID-19 public health and guidelines for your project. If you need help with that, please get in touch with us. We'll provide the guidelines closer to your project because they're changing all the time. But in general, keep in mind that even if you were going to be able to do things outside, we'll have to have controlled entrance and exits to spaces. People will have to wear masks. We'll have to be able to keep them 6 feet apart. And we'll probably have to ask a series of questions before we let them come into the space, even if it's outside. We'll help with all of that. And here's Lester Alfonso's spectacular projection from inside the public library, Imaginarium. Make sure you're applying for the right component. So remember, component 1 is a grant to individual artists. It allows that artist to undertake any number of activities that they think could be valuable to the development or enhancement or progress of their practice. And that could include developing a new work, revisiting a work in progress, moving a work in progress forward, adapting a work, or undertaking educational or training activities, including things to develop new technological or digital skills.
And on that, I just wanted to add, it's worth noting that we're using one PDF for applications for both projects. So there's 2 application forms in the PDF. It says component 1 application, component 2 application. Make sure that you're filling out the right form because they do have somewhat different questions and requirements. So make sure that you're in the right section of the PDF.
Good point, Gabe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. Cassandra Lee has asked, can we apply to both components regarding different areas of our work? The answer is yes. Each artist can apply once in each program, but only once in each program. Okie dokie. And here's the ever handsome John Hederick beside the ever talented Caesar. And there, your fearless leader in that project, Justin Million, outside at one of the backyard readings that were part of Artsweek SHIFT². If you need any help at all, don't hesitate to get in touch with it at infoartsweek@gmail.com. Working with artists is the best part of our job, and we're very happy to help you with your application. If you're deaf or hard of hearing, we can assist you. So please get in touch. Thanks, Gabe. Okay, that is the end of the formal part of the presentation, but I'm open to answering any questions. Anything that isn't clear, there's nothing too small or too offbeat to ask. Don't be shy.
I had a question.
Can you put your electronic hand up so I can see who's talking? Who's talking to me?
Sorry, it's Crystal, and I don't know how to use Zoom, so I don't know how to do that.
Oh, that's okay. It's down in the reactions thing, but that's okay, Crystal.
Oh, I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just curious. I know it's 18 and over to apply. If we are hiring artists for our project, do they also need to be over 18?
They don't need to be over 18, but if you're going to be working with people under 18, we may have to do a police check if you're going to be working with vulnerable populations.
No problem. I have that. I do that. Thank you.
Okay. It was a good question. Peyton LaBar, how are you?
I'm good. I'm surviving the first week with baby.
And congratulations.
Thank you. I had put my video on, but I'm breastfeeding.
Briar Gray has raised his hand. He's got a question.
Hi,
Hi,
Briar.
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I just had a question about if we were gonna do like a performance type thing, would it be best to just include artists from Peterborough, or like what? My microphone fell. What would it be? Would it be okay to also include artists from other parts of Ontario?
No, it has to be artists from Peterborough or Peterborough County.
Got it.
John Hederick has a question, but there's also one in chat, which I saw came in before, which is asked by Z and seconded by Elizabeth. Can you share how much money is available in total to distribute?
No, I don't. We don't tell that in advance. And to be honest, we're not sure yet. We're still hoping for some more money.
And then John Hederick is next.
Can an artist be listed on multiple applications if they have different roles? So for example, if they're in an administrative role with one organization and are applying as part of an application for that organization, but then want to apply independently as part of their own artistic practice.
Yes, that's fine.
Thank you.
If she has a question, she can ask.
Yeah, Retta, do you want to ask a question?
This is so.
The room is warm, so I didn't think that's what was going to be said. We're good.
Any other questions, folks? That being said, thank you all so much for coming tonight. Really good luck with your proposals and your applications. We look forward to receiving them. And again, don't hesitate to reach out and ask questions at any point in the application process. We're really happy to help. Take care now. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Peyton.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.